DC area. This is as far as the general public can get to the U.S. Capitol right here. But what you see is more than 9,500 National Guardsmen already on site. The Department of Defense says that number could reach 25,000 by this Wednesday. You have local law enforcement agencies working with federal agencies. You have barriers that have been set up. And if we were to take a walk down Washington streets here during the day, it is essentially a ghost town. And that is why that arrest of that individual is notable, because it was U.S. Capitol Police sending the signal that an individual, we still do not know the extent to which this individual posed a threat, but at this time, it is seeming to suggest that there was just an individual with an unlicensed firearm and ammunition. But those in that sort of situation should be wary about coming into Washington, D.C. right now.
It is very quiet in the streets around here. The most traffic that I saw on the streets nearby was just locals on their bicycles coming to take pictures of the cordons and then move on. Thank you, Vaughn. That's NBC's Vaughn Hilliard starting us off here in Washington. The Washington Post is reporting that 3 days before the Capitol riot, the U.S. Capitol Police had intelligence warning of a violent scenario. The intel said that Congress could be the target of angry mobs of Trump supporters. Let's continue now with Carol Lennick, a political investigative reporter for the Washington Post. She's co-author of the book, A Very Stable Genius, Donald J. Trump's Testing of America, and she's an MSNBC contributor. Carol, it's good to see you. I wonder if we could start with, I think, the obvious question that everybody seems to be asking right now. Actually, 2 obvious questions. One, were the Capitol Police just flat out incompetent in this? And 2, does this support the idea that someone on the inside helped the rioters on the outside get there? Could you take on those 2 questions first?
Okay, y'all need to go on to that, bro. I'm trying to focus.
What happened?
I'm tired of you game.
Such a tragic way. 4 deaths that day. A woman shot, police officer killed.
Police
officers injured. One
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to us.
I think that chief would tell you if he were with you tonight, it was an absolute colossal failure.
Alright, kill that dude.
Now, he would
Kill him now, hurry.
say, and many other of my sources say this too, that they tried.
Alright, yeah, man.
Does he come out here tonight?
I just found a gold attack. I'm in purple attack.
Of the 3 protesters for Trump,
Does he come out at night? Does he come out at night?
this was the one that was supposed to be the biggest.
I just found purple attack. Purple.
Police decided that they would bring in emergency national guard, the chief officer do. But his bosses were political operatives, sergeants at arms who
Exactly.
with the House and the Senate were comfortable with this idea of the national
Yeah.
guard of emergency.
What happened? What do you mean what happened?
We're going to play box fight here. Because if those
Yeah, we now know he left.
on deck on Wednesday as the chief requested.
Y'all niggas
They
too good.
set up very differently. They could have held this group
We ain't that good.
until potentially reinforcements arrived, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, Court, he was a little off.
He was lagging a little bit. Nigga, I'm here.
Woo, that boy yelling in the mic.
No, I can't play with you, bro. Hell no.
But yeah, bro, that man, he was. Oh no, he said, what y'all boy playing arena? I'm trying to get to let's try.
DJ, you trying to play
about tonight because my other account got hacked. But yeah, but they let me know if you're trying to run.
Police's own they warned of the perfect storm that actually happened. They warned exactly, and they predicted exactly 3 days before it unfolded. They said these were the key elements of that perfect storm.
Why they keep on moving the
People
boot
who are pro-Trump were viewing January 6th and that event as a desperate last effort.
There's no such thing as a bad Fortnite player. They might not be good, but they ain't bad.
They were egged on by one of the most important and high-profile supporters you can imagine, President Trump himself.
One shot.
Third,
Yeah.
This group had been talking online about preparing for an armed combat. Their organizers were telling each other to bring weapons that they could reassemble on the scene. And this intel unit found that they were also talking
Nigga,
about
ass he had to say, oh, you
that are used to
Dang, help me! Help! No, bro. Come on, DJ. Come on, DJ. Invite me, bro.
I'm in the game.
DJ, invite. I don't, bro. Come on, just leave, bro. I'm finna have to get off. You gonna die? He got a whole purple tag. DJ, can you leave, bro? Cause we leave for you, bro. Leave and invite me, bro.
But this was the first time they had intelligence at the Capitol Police that the target was
Bro,
not
you always running,
there were
bro.
GOP lawmakers in there or not.
See, now you dead. See, look at you. Look at you. You always doing this. Man. Come on, DJ.
Let's switch gears now to the second impeachment of President Trump. Clearly, lots of us have questions about this. Elizabeth asks, does conviction automatically
I don't want to get back on, bro.
or is that a separate
At
vote?
least invite me, DJ.
Does impeachment and conviction have any impact on potential for civil or criminal charges after he leaves office? Good questions. To help us answer those and more, we're joined by Jeffrey Rosen, the president and CEO of the National Constitution Center and a professor at the George Washington University School of Government. Mr. Rosen, good evening. Good to see you. Good to see you too. Well, let's start with those questions. How would you respond to Elizabeth?
Great questions. Elizabeth, on the first, yes, there do have to be two separate votes. First, the Senate would have to vote by a 2/3 majority to convict President Trump, and then it would vote separately, and we'll need a majority for this, about whether to disqualify any future office.
These do want to be like the Spice King so much.
And on the second question, does a conviction have any impact on the civil or criminal liability? Remember, the president cannot defend himself in an impeachment trial, so that gives him the self-pardon might not work for a federal charge. Justice Department saying he didn't do that, but he might try to raise that defense. The federal trial is not raising it.
Let's see how many of these questions we can get through. One of our viewers wants to know, if Trump is
I need somebody to play duos with, bro.
running for president again, could he still run for governor of a state?
Great question.
E3, you on, bro?
Yes.
Thank you, bro. You on now?
The United States does not find people.
Another viewer wants to know, will Trump be eligible to receive intelligence briefings after leaving office? As other former presidents are, is impeachment the only way to stop that?
He is eligible, and he would stop it if he needs all the perks of the office, including his travel allowance and salary. I don't know whether President Biden has the discretion to exclude him from his own charges.
One of the arguments that we expect President Trump's legal defense to make is that the trial is basically moved once he leaves office. What's your sense of whether or not a former president can be tried under the impeachment process?
I could be a bucket for the Knicks. I know a couple of bars, but I know a lot of creeks. From previous diamonds in the ocean made me sick.
You're going to say, I don't have to take a position on guilt because the Senate doesn't have jurisdiction. Now, it's an open question. The argument for the Senate not being able to try is removal and disqualification from office. It's that and. So the theory is if you can't remove, you can't disqualify. The argument on the other side is that it would be silly for someone to be able to avoid the penalty of disqualification just by resigning moments before an impeachment trial.
Wherever you want to go, I'll go.
76, and the Senate didn't buy the argument. Anyway, but the bottom line is, if the Senate decides it does have jurisdiction, the Supreme Court is unlikely to intervene because all of these senators, and it will be many of them use this jurisdictional defense.
Yeah, I'll land the same spot every time I land. They tell me land. All you gotta do is tell me land same spot. Try to land same spot. Yeah, like I just be selling. Yeah, like I just sell all your points.
So some senators choose to be absent, to stay home, and avoid the vote. Does that
I just don't
alter
feel this game no more, bro. This game don't give me the energy no more, bro.
some senators going to be like, count me out, I can't say, and the Democrats can just go for the people who are in the room at the
This
time?
game.
You know, that is a great question. Some of the Senate rules about what the Senate is allowed to hold and they report that.
This dude right here, he's on my tip. Lucky.
It seems to say
I don't have a
the
gun.
Democratic so against the Democratic more responsibility for election. Very interesting.
One
I got
last
a
question.
blue
So
AR.
viewers actually brought up the
Getting these
14th
mats.
Amendment of the Constitution. And the section of the 14th Amendment basically
Okay.
says
Dang, y'all just kicked that man out there off the game like that?
under the Constitution, federal
Why you
office
kick him off
Y'all
this
just kicked that
time?
man off the game like that?
insurrection or rebellion against the same, or giving aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, you're
I'm
disqualified.
finna take the fish now.
Automatically, Congress can overrule that with a two-thirds majority vote. Before I
Well,
finish,
not take the fish,
would I
but
make this
you
whole
know what I mean.
process moot? I mean, could Democrats in the House and Senate have said, you
Yeah.
know, the Constitution disqualified you just because of what you did, so, depart from me, we know you not, or do we still have to go through this process?
It is possible that indeed
I lose crack.
the House and Senate could disqualify the president under the section portion of
I got a blue tap, blue AR.
a majority vote.
Zero shield. I can have pretty good loot and zero shield.
Supreme Court might have questions about whether he actually did incite an insurrection, but bottom line, it's a very plausible alternative.
Throw me no minis.
And there too, the Supreme Court might just not choose to do it.
Oh, John.
Jeffrey Rosen, the president and CEO of the National Constitution Center.
Alright, come on. Cause this dude's to south.
Always good to talk to you.
Nice. Two of them.
Actually, great questions. Still to come this hour, how
What color shotgun you got?
law enforcement agencies have been
Okay,
so
come on. You want a W
unprepared for
key?
the rise
I'm
of the
gonna go.
Capitol, when, as Carolyn told us, the
Yeah, over
intelligence
here.
is right down front. A former director of the National Security Council,
What'd you say? Oh, yes, southwest.
who the man who
Or south.
documented
Yeah.
two presidencies as a White House
Shot way here.
Pete Souza has been more vocal about his
96.
political views in recent years. We'll find out why in just a few minutes. But
I
first,
know.
Mr. Newby is here with the next. Hey, Richard. Good evening to you, Joshua. Some stories are watching for you this hour. President-elect
I'm in. One shot.
science advisor will be
Dead.
elevated to a cabinet.
Dead. I'm dead. I killed one E3. It's two, but they're fighting. If you spray right now, you'll kill them all. Nice. Just kill him. Nice. He's white. He has a purple tag though. And yeah, that's his teammate.
Healthcare providers let vaccines go bad, overgiving them to people who are not scheduled to take them.
That gray, what's it called? No damage.
Jackpot is an estimated
Yeah, get out of there.
$640 million.
Did you hit him?
The millions jackpot is up to $850 million. Both are on the top 10 list of all-time longest kiddings.
Yeah, I killed one of them. I got to kill those.
More than a week with Joshua Johnson.
Research shows people remember commercials.
I need DJ, bro. Come on, DJ. Cause I'm about to have to get off. When I get off, I'm not getting back on.
There are many names for enthusiasts.
Yeah, I ain't getting back on. I don't feel like getting back on. I'm tired of being on green arrow.
This is what we call coming all in on the slope to them.
Lease the 2021 IS 300 to 359 a month for 39 months.
Experience amazing.
Shingles. Oh, Dios mío, so much pain. Maria had to do everything for me. She had these awful blisters on her back. I know when shingles when I'm your age.
Actually, if you're 50 or older, you're at increased risk.
That's like nothing you can do.
Shingles can be prevented.
Shingles can be what?
Prevented. You can get vaccinated.
Where?
Well, at your pharmacy, at your doctor's.
Oh, God.
50 years old, get vaccinated for shingles now.
Alright, E3, lock in, bro. Got this, bro. I want them to. Come on. Cause your internet was just tripping earlier. I had to kill somebody. Come on, bro. Go lazy.
Real protection.
Where we going? I'm following you. I'm landing where you go.
Customizes hardships.
That's
Got
I
it?
never land with you, so I'm just saying. Man, wherever you go.
Only pay for what you need.
I got a god drop.
Sandals, red antique.
I'm right behind you too, so you gotta get a perfect drop.
As large as the ocean.
Like can't nobody contest you or nothing. Like you gotta get an ace drop. Somebody from this swoop down and get your gun.
Hey, can you adjust my strap? Well, you need 5
How
minutes.
do I land on top of there? Nah, bro. How do I land on top of the building? No. How? No, I swear. Oh my fucking gosh. I can't. I'm getting off. I don't care. I'm getting off.
Download the play.com app today.
Why can't you it's half the cost for Fubo's. Get all the
Get
channels
my
you
car around, bro. I don't know how. No, bro. Don't even kill him. Yeah, kill him.
try free.
How long will it take you to get back your student loans?
Not until
Please,
2020.
no. Just get my car.
I'll be letting you go. So celebrate by going to the
And
moon.
then get in that car and run. I don't know how. I don't know how, like at all. I don't know how. This shit ain't me. This shit happens. Just get in that car right there. That's in between that builds. Get out of here, bro. I don't know how. This or you can boot me here if you want. Yeah, you gotta get into a different party.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
I'm getting off. I don't play no more. I'm getting off. I don't care.
Service and nation of care. The challenges we face are real. They will not be met easily, but they will be met.
We are learning more about the security failures that preceded last week's storming of the Capitol. We just heard Carolina and the Washington Post discuss that in memo from Capitol Police. It warned that the pro-Trump crowds at the Capitol could get violent, but it was not shared.
I got 6 kills. I'm getting my points up. I'm racking up, boy.
A former security official told her that evidence could explain why it was not shared with other agencies. Our next guest refers to this as the invisible obvious. Broadly speaking, it's all those things we fail to notice due to our own biases. In the case of the Capitol riot, officials there failed to see that.
Man, this purple shotgun fire.
Hard for authorities to realize that people who looked like them could commit such crimes. Their belief was that, quote, foes look differently, foes act differently, say different things. They don't have the same bumper stickers. They don't have the same yellow flag of don't tread on me. That assumption left 5 people dead, including a Capitol police officer. Joining us now is R.P. Eddy. He's a former director at the White House National Security Council and is now the CEO of Ergo, a global intelligence and advisory firm. Mr. Eddy, good evening.
Nice to see you.
He just got back home.
Let's get into this idea of the invisible obvious. There were a number of Capitol police officers who've been suspended.
I'm trying to grind solo.
One who was seen apparently taking a selfie with members of the mob. Another who was seen wearing a MAGA hat directing people inside the building. Is this a form of the invisible obvious, or is that not quite the same?
No, but those are not examples of visible obvious. Those are examples of collusion or direct solicitation or could be just straight racism. That's not what I'm talking about. Those are criminals who simply acting could be criminal.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring this up first. What is the distinction between this and those actions?
Well, your previous guest was going to be a big one about how a number of people did notice who's going to be aware of this. We need that a country to the far right being increasing threat in America and some skin of 50 today. How did the ultimate decision makers get this wrong? The long string of intelligence strategies in American history. We talk about failure to imagine. We talk about failure to connect the dots. And you're referring to a phrase we use in our book, and the phrase we use is invisible obvious. This one was so obvious, it was so in front of some people's face that it shocked you was invisible to them.
but I do believe it was from many decision makers. So you mentioned previously people who look like us and vote like us, we generally feel more comfortable with, right? This is a form of racial bias, it's a cognitive bias, but that's a big thing that was at play here. I think there were two others, and I can do them quickly. One was a frame of law enforcement officers follow law, doesn't the president also? Who do I serve? And confusion of putting this hardened kernel of murderous seditionists into a frame of lawlessness when the president just cleared them down the way. That's a hard one. And then finally, we can break and talk about it, but it was also probably an overcorrection to the June 1st Lafayette Square over-militarization.
There's been some reporting that a number of the people in the mob were either current or former law enforcement themselves. What do you make of that, particularly in terms of perhaps a sense of that kind of, shared affinity that may be part of these biases that allow things to get missed?
I've worked with law enforcement for years. I hold law enforcement in general in high esteem, as many of us do. There are 1 million law enforcement officers in America. Obviously, there are very bad apples in that bucket. It's a fact. But we also need to absolutely confront the fact that a number of the far-right groups and the more conspiracy-driven groups like QAnon and Boogaloo Boys or all these crazy things on the right have infiltrated not only just our law enforcement, but into our military. And it's a real problem we need to address and understand. I'm not surprised at all that of the thousands of people who came to the Capitol and of the hundreds perhaps, or I'm not sure the number now, that broke into the Capitol, that they sieged the Capitol, some were police officers. Again, they tend to be affiliated more to the right, and they also unfortunately have an affiliation, as I said, of some of these far-right groups into law enforcement and into the U.S. military.
This concept of the invisible obvious, as we're going into 2021, as we're having some really intense cultural and national conversations, I think a lot of people want to have, but have them usefully. Give me an example of a way, before I have to let you go, of how this concept might factor into the way we go forward with 2021 and face some of the issues that are before us.
Well, we talk a lot about catastrophes that strike us, from 9/11, the rise of ISIS, from Madoff to Katrina, all these things that people giving us warnings. So we're highly credentialed experts. We call them Cassandras. All those Cassandras were credentialed experts who we should have listened to and didn't. The reason we didn't was largely around cognitive biases. So cognitive biases lead us to make all sorts of horrible decisions. So one is a racial bias. One is the concept of invisible obvious. We just don't see it.
Back on the game, bro.
You have to make sure you have inclusive groups. You have to work hard against bias, accept that it's there, and make sure that you are listening to someone who's giving you a warning. If you initially repelled by them, or you want to throw away the point of view of the warning, ask yourself why.
They don't want to get back on.
If everyone who is listening to the person who made the decision, which was ultimately the wrong decision, is not listening to that warning.
Wait, I ain't dead.
Why am I kicking that person out of the office? Why am I not listening to the person who's telling me the challenge will blow up? Why am I not telling the person who's telling Congress will be attacked on January 6th? If you listen,
plus I got 8 kills.
You do a whole lot better. If you find out about it.
Did you say that you were putting them as Cassandras, like the Greek myth? You put them under prophecy that are true that are never believed? Is that what you're doing?
That's right. That's what I'm Cassandras. The Greek mythological figure who was cursed to be right, but just believed the disaster struck.
Mark Yanni, CEO of the Global Intelligence and Advisory Firm Ergo. I appreciate you making time for us and the reference to Greek mythology. Love the cultural program. Thank you very much for making time.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Coming up, as we approach another historic moment, we will talk to someone who knows a lot about documenting them. The White House's former official photographer, Pete Souza, joins us just ahead. Stay close.
Happy anniversary. So what? Every year you're with us, you get $50 toward your home production. Probably purpose being a part of the company.
Do I have to do anything?
Nothing.
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 That really is something.
You did a whole lot of something for farmer policy first.
May I have a balloon too?
Sure. Your parents are making the farmer's home policy for 12 We are farmers. Start with the quote that won't even take long.
COPD sitting down. It's time to make a stand. Start a new day with Trilogy. No once-daily COPD medicine has the power to treat COPD in as many ways as Trilogy. With 3 medicines in one inhaler, Trilogy helps people breathe easier and improves lung function. It also helps prevent future flare-ups. Trilogy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trilogy more than prescribed. Trilogy may increase your risk of progression from osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur. Take this video and start a new day with Trilogy. Ask your doctor about once daily Trilogy and save at Trilogy.com.
Age-related macular degeneration may lead to severe vision loss.
So the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on a formula only found in Preservision. If it were my vision, I'd ask my doctor about Preservision. It's the most studied eye vitamin brand.
If it were my vision, I'd look into Preservision.
Only Preservision A-Reds 2 contains the exact nutrient formula recommended by the NEI to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
I have AMD. It is my vision, so my plan includes Preservision.
Every morning at 4:30, you hear the water on the floor. It's hard times in the middle, hard times in the middle. It's right up 6, don't that old bell make you sick? Hard times in the middle, my love, hard times.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. You have other house and insurance. If it were not so, I would have told you.
Download the Free.com app today. Online University, where ambition never rests.
I love this photo of my neck, but getting from here to here can be a real pain. That's why I started Keepsake, the free app that makes it easy and affordable to have your favorite photos framed. So if you've got a special photo on your phone, download the free Keepsake app and start framing today.
Intimacy is about more than just what happens in the bedroom. I hear this from Roman members every day. Erectile dysfunction treatment helps men feel more confident in the bedroom, yet it also unlocks so much more outside of it. Connection, the warmth, and feel more in sync with their partners. And that's what every couple deserves. With Roman, it's simple to connect with a professional online and find the right treatment plan for you. Simple, straightforward, and the way healthcare should be. Get started today with a free online visit at roman.com/TV. Roman, let's take care of it.
Documenting all the important moments of his presidency. The emotion, tough decisions.
Rain hopping on.
Cause you get back on in 2 hours.
At 80 now?
Yeah. Unless you want to
No, you good. Man, I only need 606 points, bro. I've been doing good in so long.
can you start your stream if you want to?
It was a peak season. President Obama's just one outfit.
I will.
Reflecting on his job.
Like,
Time
time for that intro. Mute that E3. Take that off, y'all. I done got a copyright claim from YouTube.
Images that will help us remember
Miss your mic.
unforgettable day.
3, 2, 1. Hold on, shut up.
Documenting the landscape in Washington.
What's good, YouTube? It's the boy Astro DJ, and I'm back with another video. But today, we playing Arena, man. We've been playing Arena since what? The beginning of the week, my guy?
President Obama. He was also an official photographer for President Obama.
The beginning of the week?
You can see it tonight at the top of the
Oh, man. Yeah.
I want to start with a clip from the documentary.
You know what?